Thank you for joining us today at IFFGD's virtual advocacy event. Today, we are educating patients and caregivers on the Feeding Gluten-Free program provided by the National Celiac Association. And with us is Carla Carter, the Director of Outreach and Programming of the National Celiac Association. Thank you for being with us today, Ms. Carter.
Thank you so much for having me and for representing National Celiac Association.
Yeah. So can you just tell us a little bit about National Celiac Association and its focus on the gluten-free, Feeding Gluten-Free program?
Absolutely. So the National Celiac Association has been around for almost 28 years now, and our sole purpose is to help people with celiac disease and gluten-related disorders to live every day and to function and to thrive. And we do this through a myriad of ways. We have two really informative websites and that help everyone on the gluten-free diet, which is the only treatment for celiac disease and non-celiac gluten sensitivity. We support all age ranges from pediatrics to seniors and every age in between. And it's really the everyday living that people have to get through that we try to help them with. And a bit about the Feeding Gluten-Free program. So one of the things about the gluten-free diet is that it is more expensive. Traditionally, approximately about 3 times more expensive for things like cereal and breads and pastas compared to the gluten-containing counterparts. So as you can imagine, that can be really hard for someone who's already in economic distress or in food insecurity. And so for a while, about 6 or 7 years, we had a gluten-free food bank that served the greater Boston area with a hands-on approach for distributing gluten-free food and education. We also provide education nationally for when we did have outreach from individuals around the nation. And then COVID hit, right? And so it actually not only highlighted gluten-free food insecurity around the nation, but it made it grow even more. And we were just heartbroken by the types of phone calls we were getting from individuals who couldn't even afford a loaf of bread, people who were newly furloughed or unemployed, newly homeless. And so we really had to shift our focus from a smaller hands-on approach to a coordinated national effort that had never been done before. So it's been a long haul, but throughout the last year, we've made inroads in 28 states with identifying places like food pantries and food banks who can provide gluten-free food. And we've accepted donations, purchased food, paid for shipping of gluten-free food. We're almost up to about $400,000 of retail product that's gone around to these 28 states. So hunger doesn't sleep though. And our goals are to continuously be able to deliver this food. So we've got a lot ahead of us, but it's proving successful thus far.
Yeah, no, it's great. A lot of people during COVID have just been looking for different resources, and that's why this year we're focusing on that and just getting the word out and helping our patients any way we can.
Absolutely.
What resources do you provide for the Feeding Gluten-Free program?
Good question. So we have hands-on resources and guides. I can talk about that more in a second, but from the get-go, it's all about education, education, education. And it's the resource that we're providing to food assistance organizations because a lot of them don't really know about gluten-free food or who needs it or why, or how to store it and how to make a shelf for it. So it's about providing that grassroots conversation when, in fact, it's also, the actual need for gluten-free food assistance has doubled to tripled from places that we've heard from places who have a system already in place. They're seeing numbers from 80 families a month to 145 families a month who need gluten-free food assistance. So The resources that we provide are this connection of education, but also, so we have handouts that they can then implement, both in short-term and long-term solutions for their assistance organizations. Some food banks just, they need to work on surveying their thousands of agencies because they don't even know the community members they serve. They're like, I've got no idea because, we have so many people. So they're implementing surveys to kind of get an idea about the communities they're serving and their special dietary needs. And then we created an individual document for people who need food assistance because the other piece is gluten-free food is so expensive. We have to educate on eating naturally gluten-free foods that the food assistance organization might have readily available. It might not be the things you want to eat, like the pasta and the cereal, but it's fresh produce. It's fruit, vegetables, potatoes, rice, meat, and those naturally gluten-free foods. Have some of those supportive documents, and like I said, we're providing the direct phone call resource support.
Yeah, no, that's good. So how can someone find a gluten-free friendly food bank in their area?
So as we've come along and we've been able to identify supportive areas or places who really want to offer support, we have on our website a map. So you can go to celiac.org and click on the gluten-free food assistance, and there's a link for a map. And so there's some little pins around the nation, but obviously with over 64,000 food assistance networks throughout the United States and more, we can't get it in every town. So it's about individuals being good self-advocates and calling their local zip code or county because not every food bank or food pantry can serve everywhere. So you have foodpantries.org. We've been using that website a lot to help identify, because a lot of them are churches and they might not be part of the Feeding America network, which is great, but it's not all inclusive to what the resources might be for everybody. So, yeah.
So yeah, if someone is unable to locate a gluten-free food bank or they just don't have one in their area, is there like steps they can take to get one started or just make their food bank gluten-free friendly? What do you suggest they would do?
Yeah, that's kind of a follow-up to the last question in that it's about talking to the people. So once they're able to find somewhere in their town or their county, a friendly voice, someone who's open to listening to them. When we have someone calling to say, I can't afford to feed my son, or I can't afford to get money to get food just for myself, I call. And the first thing I said was, what advice can you give me for this person? What can we do together to help this person? So, unfortunately, COVID has caused a myriad of problems for food pantries in so many ways. And one of them is that individuals don't have choice in a lot of places anymore. Many places were, hedging towards being able to just come in and like a real shopping experience that everyone deserves. But now they box and bag food up and give it out depending on the number in the family. And someone who needs to eat gluten-free food might be lucky to get one or two things that they can eat out of that. So it's about having that conversation with your local food assistance organization and saying, how can we make this work to help not just me, but there's 21 million people in America who need to eat gluten-free food between celiac disease and non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And so statistically speaking, the numbers are there to serve the community. And so you can always reach out to me, Carla at nationalceliac.org. My information's online, and we're happy to provide the handouts and written resources and more of the education if someone needs that support for their local food pantry.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Definitely, even if you're just a friend with someone with celiac, like, if you volunteer at your local food bank and you don't notice they do, maybe mention it to them and just bring it up. Just getting the word out to anybody, obviously. Mentioning it as much as possible helps.
Absolutely. And some of them are just out straight and they just don't have the bandwidth to take on dietary needs, which is really unfortunate, but that is a COVID problem. It might have existed previous to COVID, but it's only made it worse. So it's just persistence, quiet persistence and support, because you certainly want to, you don't want to be that nagging pest that they're not even willing to open their mind to it, but just to let them know the need is there and that there are resources to help make this happen, and let's see what we can do to work together to do it.
Yeah, no, but yeah, obviously that's going to be great for our viewers to learn and to know about the Feeding Gluten-Free program, that you guys are here for them, to help them, and just be there as a support system for them.
Yeah,
So yeah.
we've learned a lot over the last year, and we're still trying to plug away. And like I said, our goals are to get gluten-free food consistently to the locations we've been able to work with already. So yeah, check us out.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your information with us. And for those of you that just joined us, we've chatted with Carla Carter, Director of Outreach and Programming at the National Celiac Association. And if you missed Ms. Carter's talk, you can find hers and others from this event on the IFFGD webpage. And just thank you again for hopping on with us today, Ms. Carter, and telling us all about what you guys have to offer.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.